I recently interviewed 53 entrepreneurs and CEOs and people that have created what we call a self-sustaining company. And some of them were seven figures, some of them were eight figures. And I just went to them and I just asked questions. And I did this primarily through my podcast, the CEO, Seven Figure CEO podcast. And then also just through going and meeting with people, just out of extreme curiosity of how do you actually create a self-sustaining company? Because I was able to do it at a company that I founded called The Rocket Company that grew from an idea to an Inc. 5000 company that was three-peat on the Inc. 5000 list 3 times in a row, which was awesome, which means we're one of the fastest growing privately held companies in the United States of America for 3 times. And then get Atlanta's Best Place to Work and that kind of stuff, and then ultimately be able to sell the company. And so I got to see the full life cycle of how do you go from idea to building the company, growing company, and then ultimately exiting the company and selling the company. And what are the criteria? Like, how do you make something like that happen? And so with my experience, but then with also the experience of these 53 people that I've interviewed, I started finding patterns. And it's very interesting to look at that most businesses and most business owners that I talk to is that what they want is a self-sustaining company. And what I mean by self-sustaining is that they have a company where they get the benefits that they actually got into business for, which number one would be that you have a team that you build or other people that can run or grow the company without you. So you're not the one having to make all the sales. You're not the one having to have all the pressure. You're not the only one thinking about payroll on your shoulders. You're not the only one that carries all the weight and responsibility of getting back with customers, delivering the service. And most entrepreneurs that I talk to, it's not that they want to build a big behemoth, Fortune 100 company, but they want other people and building a team around them to do this. But a lot of them don't know how to do it. And a lot of entrepreneurs build teams of people that are just doers, not leaders. And so they still have to bear the weight. And so one of the things I saw in the 53 interviews was the self-sustaining companies had teams of people that did a great job. That was the first one. The second one was that in self-sustaining companies is that you actually get paid for your equity. And what I mean by that is, as an entrepreneur, one of your biggest investments usually isn't some 401k or SEP IRA or some investment account. The biggest investment that you're making is in the business that you own, where you have equity in that business. And the question is, most entrepreneurs trick themselves and say, well, one day I'm going to sell my business. Well, most businesses never sell. Like, I don't know the exact percentage, but I know it's the large majority never sell. They die with the founder or the owner, and they never make it. And so if that's the case, and if most businesses never sell, how along the way are you making money out of the equity? I'm not talking about the salary you make, but the equity in your business. Are you getting distributions that are sizable and that give you the lifestyle and give you the freedom that you want to have? That's another thing I learned. There's a pattern that I saw. The third thing I saw that was interesting was just that a self-sustaining company produces time off for the owner. And what I mean by that is, it doesn't mean that you take all the time off, 6 months off, but it means that you could. It doesn't mean that you take off 3 weeks and travel around Italy. Well, I did. It doesn't mean that you do that, but it means that you could. And it means that the business would still be thriving in your absence. And a self-sustaining company is a business that allows you the ability to take off as much or as little time as you want to. And so it's not tied to you. You are not slave to the business. The business works for you. And this is the biggest thing that we see is that in self-sustaining companies, and the ones that I'm coaching and the ones that we're seeing, is that they have teams of people that they get the equity that's producing cash out of them, and it allows them the freedom that they ultimately got in business for. Because most business owners, and I think you would agree, you don't feel like you have all the freedom that you thought you were going to have. Just because you're autonomy, you're doing your own business, you don't necessarily have it. And so how do you get there? I started asking questions. How do you get there? What does this look like? And how do you create that self-sustaining business? The last criteria that I've seen on businesses that are self-sustaining is that the owner, the founder, the president, whatever your title or role is that they actually get to do what they love to do and find energy and enjoyment doing. And it was so interesting is that most business owners don't. Most business owners are still having to do tons of things that they don't want to do or they're not gifted to do. And so in being in a self-sustaining and building a self-sustaining company, it's building it around your ability to build around who you are, build around your life and your lifestyle so that you can be in what you're the best in the world at, and that kind of energy and lifelong just curiosity and focus or whatever it is that you want to do, that you can have that. And so do you have these criteria? And so what we did is that we went out and based on these interviews and based on our experience building an Inc. 5000 company 3 years in a row, selling it, and all that stuff, I just got really curious about this. How do you do it? What are the nuts and the bolts? And there's only so many patterns. And after I've talked to some really large businesses, $100 million businesses, down to startups and everywhere in between, the patterns of success are the same no matter the size of the business. And no matter the size of your actual business, is that there's patterns. And you're either building a self-sustaining business or you're not. It's that simple. It's either the business is going to be sustained by you or the business is going to be sustained by the business. So where are you? So that's what we did, and we put together an assessment to see for you that you can fill out, that you can be a part of, to jump in to see how self-sustaining is your business, because the patterns that we see and the patterns of these businesses is so clear. And so all you got to do is take this quick assessment. And when you take the assessment, it's going to let you know, you're going to get a score, and the score is going to let you know here's where you are in self-sustaining and give you some suggestions of how do you get to the next level. What are your next steps? What do you do? And I think that the most powerful thing that I ever learned as an entrepreneur was seeing that these steps aren't complicated, that they're very, very practical, and that every single business goes through the exact same thing. It doesn't matter if you're a software business, a product business, if you have physical inventory, if you're retail, if you're restaurant, it doesn't matter. A business is built the same every single time. Different expressions, same thing. So fill out the assessment. Find out what your next steps are, because if you don't know the information, you're just going to be leading blindly, keeping doing what you do. And if you like the way your business is right now, then don't do it. But if you want to get to the place where you have self-sustaining business, where you can focus on your passions and what you're good at, where you're getting paid for the money and the equity is actually giving you distributions that are sizable to get you into wealth. If you want to have other people that are building the business so you're not having to build everything, and there's other people marketing, other people selling, other people delivering, other people keeping the books, other people doing the stuff, and if you want the time off that you thought you were going to get as a business owner, this is the next step for you. Fill out the assessment, and I can't wait to see you on the other side. After you fill out the assessment, we're going to walk you through a deeper look at this and a deeper look, and I'm going to share these 53 interviews with you and share the content from those, and I can't wait to see you after the assessment.